What up, Salvador Braby here. Welcome back to the Life for Freedom YouTube channel. On this channel, we talk about achieving success in your life and many different areas of life in which you can achieve success. And sometimes it almost seems like a mirage. It feels like something that's a vision that's not real. You're almost like you're walking in the desert and you see this grand vision there of water. And it's like, oh my gosh, it seems like there's water out there in the desert, right? And you finally get there and then you realize it kind of has disappeared. And that happens many times in our life, right? But in this channel, we really try to talk about practical tactics, ways, almost a science, if you will, to achieving more success in your life and unlocking that freedom which we all crave in many different areas. So that could be something like wealth, personal finances, that could be things when it comes to fitness, that could be your own personal health, that could be the relationships that you have in your life, your job, your career, whatever it is, we talk about how to unlock success. And in today's video, we're getting into some of those success habits that are gonna skyrocket your results when it comes to achieving success in your life. Now, I have other videos out there on achieving success, and in today's video, I really wanted to concentrate on habits and specifically the things that you need to cultivate in yourself in order to make sure that you're making steps towards that vision of yourself. So we call these obviously success habits, but I think that word habits is thrown around a lot. So what do we mean when we say habits? What actually are habits? Habits to me is like one of those words that like we talk about, we throw around all the time, but it's very difficult to actually understand what someone means when they're talking about habits, or at least that's kind of how I felt. I always felt when I was growing up that people were speaking a language that I didn't really understand, right? I felt like people were almost speaking in code to a degree, because sometimes when one person says habits, another person has a different meaning related to that word. So you might say habits and someone else thinks something different when you're actually talking about that word. So it's really important that we study the vocabulary of success. It's really important that we understand what we're talking about so we can actually move faster towards these milestones. When I'm talking about habits, what am I really talking about when it comes to that word? So first of all, I'm talking about behaviors, okay? So what are your behaviors on a weekly basis, on a daily basis? What are you actually doing out there in the world in order to achieve and unlock success in your life? What are the habits that you have? We're talking first about behaviors. The second thing that we're talking about when it comes to habits is your mindset. How do you approach life? When things happen, are you scared and you're shying away, or do you attack them, right? Do you move forward? When it comes to your behaviors and your mindsets really kind of determine how you're gonna act in an individual situation. So the more you have a clamp down on your mindset, you might be in a very healthy mindset and you're seeing lots and lots of success in your life. And sometimes this happens for a decade. It might happen for a couple of years in your life. It might even just happen for 1 year, a season in your life. We're just seeing rapid fire success because you had control of your mindset, or a coach or someone else helped you out. Let's say you're training for athletic pursuit, you're trying to run track or something like that. You had a really good mindset when it came to that. And so you saw success. So it's not just your behaviors, it's also your mindset. And the final thing, and this kind of ties a little bit into mindset and to your behaviors, is the way in which you approach the world. And this also, I would say, ties into your emotions. So we're gonna add in emotions here, but it's really a full circle here. It's behaviors, mindset, emotions, how you solve problems when issues crop up in your life, the habits that underlie this. We're gonna be talking about this in this video. Now, the second most important thing to determine here is your success. What does that mean? Because again, it's almost like you're speaking in code, right? It's like you could be talking about one thing. Success for one person is very different for another person. So when we talk about success, it's really important that we define that. And again, this goes back to the vocabulary of success. Understanding that understanding what people mean when it comes to the words that they're saying. So to kind of cultivate this, one way to ask this would be, what kind of life do you want? If you could adopt any kind of characteristics of other people, what characteristics would they be? If you could have something show up in your life and you'd be delighted by that fact and you would feel proud and you feel accomplished, what would that thing be? The more that we can get specific about what success looks like, what it feels like, and actually visualizing that, which is one of the keys that we'll talk about, the more is a chance that that success is actually show up in your life. It should be the start of an entire new you. This video can be the start of an entire new you if you become very specific about what success means to you. Leave a comment down below if you've identified what does success mean to you. A lot of the times as well, we kind of get very feeling selfish when we talk about success, but really at the end of the day, when you are successful, there's also benefits to other people around you in your life, whether that's your family, whether that's your kids, whether that's a romantic partner that you have, your friends. When you have success showing up in your life, it's not just you, it's also you're impacting other people. You're becoming a better quality of friend. You're becoming a better quality of a romantic lover. You're becoming a better boss even, right? When success shows up in your life by following some of the habits that we're going to be talking about, it improves other people's lives. So, the first question is just to begin to to think, if this really was the start of a new you, what would that success look like? What would be some of those characteristics? How would this show up in your life? What area of your life is this really just droning on in your head that you want to see success in that area? And the other really quick thing is, why were you gifted this desire? Because likely if you've been thinking about this for a long time, it's probably been in your head for a while. It's almost become obsessive, if you will. You may be thinking about this since you were a little kid. You may be thinking about this for the last couple of years, whatever it is. Think about, why were you gifted this desire? So just to kind of break this down in some of the common ways, this could be related to wealth, right? This could be related to health, your personal fitness, right? This could be related to business, or we'll say career, okay? This could be related to your romantic relationships. This could be spiritual in nature, okay? A lot of different realms when it comes to success. Think about, where is it that you are trying to achieve in your life? Where is it to no longer feel happy with the current level that you're at? You finally had enough of being sick and tired with where you are in your life. Think about this. Which area does this fall in for you? So the first thing I want to talk about when it comes to a success habit is that successful people know what they want. They have a vision for the future. They have an idea of what they want to have happen, and they know what they want. And here's why this is so important. So even if you don't necessarily know what you want, that's okay. It's not a prerequisite for success, right? But it is a habit, certainly, of success. Knowing what you want. Okay? And this is the vision that we're talking about. So by knowing what you want, not only does it allow you to actually achieve that thing and to take steps towards that, but it also pulls you to that future version of yourself. Have you ever, for example, gone and watched a trailer, and all of a sudden you watched a trailer for a movie and it really kind of whet your appetite to actually want to see that movie? When you watch a trailer, it gets you really excited. It's like, this is gonna be super cool. I wanna go and I wanna show up and I wanna actually see that movie. When you have a very clear vision and you know what you want when it comes to success in your life and how that's going to show up, how it's going to look like, how it's going to feel like, what kind of person you're going to be, the more that you can understand that and have a clarity of vision, the more you're actually pulled towards that vision. In the same way that a trailer pulls you into a movie, this success, this vision that you have of the future is going to pull you towards the actions, going to help you move you towards that eventual vision. And before you know it, you're actually going to be living this vision, which is kind of one of the most crazy things as well, is that you can actually live and plan your future and make steps towards that. And all of a sudden, it becomes your present moment. It becomes what you're living. It becomes your life. If you really want this to be the start of a new you, you have to make sure that you begin to spend some time thinking, visualizing. It doesn't cost anything to dream big and to really think about, what do I want? What kind of characteristics do I want to have in the future? Who do I want to become in the future? What do I want to achieve? These kinds of thoughts are going to clarify your thinking. It's going to get you much more focused and much more serious and moving in the direction of success. The second big thing when it comes to success, and honestly, even with the first big one, knowing what you want, this is true of anyone. Whether you're a billionaire like Bill Gates and knowing exactly wanting a computer on every desktop, in every school, right? In every single home out there, knowing the vision that you have when it comes to success, whether that's business success like Apple and having a redefined idea of how Steve Jobs wanted to create the Apple brand and the types of products that he wanted to sell, whether maybe that's success when it comes to an Olympic athlete and actually visualizing going across the finish line and winning in the way that Michael Phelps does, or doing studies, for example, where you are actually practicing your free throw, which they've done, and just by practicing and visualizing that, you actually get better as an NBA basketball player. All these people are visualizing success and they know exactly what they want. So number two, when I'm talking about this, is being aware to listen to the right voices, okay? Listen to the right voices. And this kind of is here at VOI. Oh my gosh, my spelling is so wrong here. Voices. Being willing to listen to the right voice, right? My spelling is horrible, it's atrocious when it comes to writing and talking at the same time. So listening to the right voices is so important because your behaviors, your mindset, your emotions, all of these things play into the steps that you can take, right? When it comes to your success, when it comes to the things you're trying to achieve in life. And sometimes when you're listening to the wrong voices, let me ask you, how does that affect your emotions? How does that affect your mindset? And in turn, how does that affect your behaviors? Have you ever had someone in life, maybe a teacher that you didn't really like, or a parent, or just someone who was in the realm of authority, and they told you couldn't do something, or they told you that you were a certain way, or they told you were bad at this, or good at that, or you got a report card back, and you realize, oh, I'm horrible at math, I'm never gonna do this kind of career, right? Whenever you have people in your life that are feeding you information, not only is it affecting your emotions, it's also affecting your mindset, which again, in turn, affects the behaviors that you have every single day, and it actually alters your habits. So all of a sudden, maybe we're making incredible progress towards your dreams. And then what happened? You had a little voice in your head, and all of a sudden you started to be sidetracked a little bit, and you can barely even notice the imperceptible small differences. But when you take it out in a grand scale of someone's life, it becomes a remarkable difference based on what their potential is versus where they ended up. So you need to be willing to listen to the right voices and tune out the voices that are not supporting you in this journey. And I know that this is difficult and even a little bit controversial to say, but sometimes those people in your life that you love dearly, some of those people in your life that you love to spend some great time with and maybe go through fun activities with, right? And to go hiking or camping or even just go to a restaurant with someone, sometimes they can be incredible in that area of life. But when it comes to what you're trying to achieve, sometimes you need to kind of turn down that volume knob a little bit because again, they are not helping when it comes to emotions, mindset, or the behaviors that are going to lead you towards success. You need to be listening to the right voices, and I'll also add on to this, you need to be reading the right material. Successful people, whether that's Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, CEOs of companies, they spend a lot of time reading, they spend a lot of time listening and digesting information like a sponge. So if you want to be successful in any area of life, you're gonna get there faster when you understand what other people have already done to be successful. You're kind of modeling their behavior, taking their behavior and you're like, okay, what do I like about that? What don't I like, right? What do I wanna copy? What do I kind of wanna discard, right? What do I wanna emulate? What do I wanna not pay attention to? You do that by listening to the right voices, by analyzing these people, and also by reading. So incredibly important and one of the major habits of success. Number 3 is that you need to take responsibility. This is the same habit that every single successful person has. That's what a boss does. That's what someone who's the captain of a ship does. That's what someone who's the leader of an army does, is they take responsibility for their troops. They don't just take responsibility for themselves, they take responsibility for their entire life. One of the most incredible successful habits that led to a radical shift in my own life, skyrocketing my income, having incredible growth when it comes to that and my business, etc., is just being willing to take responsibility. Take responsibility right now for where you are. Take responsibility for the good things and also for the bad things. Not just your achievements, but also some of your shortcomings. Take responsibility that whatever is happening in life, I am going to be responsible for this. I'm putting myself in these situations. I'm subjecting myself to these people, these voices that I'm hearing in my head, whether that's, a lover, or that's someone who's in your family, or that's someone who's in your job, whatever. I'm the one who's putting myself into these situations. I'm the one who's controlling what I'm doing every single day. I'm the one who's deciding whether or not to tune out negative thoughts and to engage in self-sabotage. I'm the one who is at the root cause of all of this. You need to take responsibility for your actions, for your thoughts, for what you're feeling, and not to blame that or to push that onto anyone else. One of the biggest success habits out there is being willing to take responsibility, and every single leader out there knows this, no matter what industry you're in, even if you're trying to do something more related to fitness, you're trying to do something when it comes to being in a romantic relationship, something more spiritual, take responsibility for the journey. This is your journey, not someone else's. Don't push it on other people. Take responsibility. Number 4, you might be able to think you can guess number 4, but I promise you, this is actually something that is kind of like not really discussed in my opinion when it comes to achieving success in life. And that's really to know thyself, okay? Know thyself. Now, I'm gonna go out there on a limb and say that many of us, and many people in my community, honestly, really know our friends, and we know our lovers, and we know our family, and we know even some of the most intimate details about them, and we know what makes them laugh, and makes them cry, and we know what makes them happy and ecstatic, and we know the kinds of things that they love to do in their free time, and even some of the stories that make up who they are, right? We know so much about the people in our lives, but let me take a second. How long have you really spent getting to know yourself? How long have you really spent getting to know what makes you happy, what makes you angry, what makes you sad, what makes you feel inspired, what actually leads to your success in these different areas? What actually is this person that we're looking at in the mirror, right? Who is that person? What do they, represent? Is it someone that's like we constructed in our head and maybe years and years ago we decided who we are, what we like, etc. Or we actually think about in present day, what do I like? Maybe I've changed. Maybe the things that used to make me happy no longer make me happy. Or maybe the person that I used to want to be, I no longer do. It's time to really update this vision of ourselves and to be willing to just look at yourself in the mirror and begin to get to know yourself and to accept it. The more that you know yourself, not only is this incredibly important when it comes to planning for success, but it also is for even setting those different milestones which you need to hit and smash through in order to get to the next level in your life. In the same way that, for example, if you had an employee, let's just say you're a business owner, okay? You're a business owner, you got a 6-figure business, and you have a couple of employees that are working with you. Maybe you have a 7-figure, even 8-figure business. The sky is the limit. And let's just say that you have some employees. What would happen if you didn't understand them? If you didn't know what they were good at, and if you didn't know what their weaknesses were, if you didn't know what their emotional temperament was like, if you know what their life was like outside of work, or if you know their hours that they can actually commit, the things they can actually accomplish, the things that they're good at, right? If you didn't know all that information, it'd be so difficult for you to actually help that person experience success in their role, in what they're trying to do. As a business owner, we understand this. I understand this. You understand this in this example, that you have to know what they're good at. You have to understand that person. So when it comes to you, it's the exact same thing. You need to make sure that you know who you are. You need to make sure that you understand yourself. The more you can actually unravel this code that makes up who you are, and literally it is like a code, and the more you can decipher this and understand this, you will be able to predict how I'm going to feel in certain situations. You'll know that if you subject yourself to the wrong voices, it's going to cause you to feel anxious, guilty, engage in self-sabotage. You're going to know it's going to make you off with your mindset. And you're going to go from thinking about maybe the future and accomplishment and really moving towards that to then thinking about some negative things that maybe have shown up in your life in the past and led to negative habits and not success habits. So it's so important that you know yourself. It's so important that you decode your mind, that you understand who you are. Because the more that you can do that, the easier it is for you to manage yourself, right? To understand what you have to do to put yourself in a position to succeed and thus unlock all of the things that you've been searching for. Number five, let's talk about the 5th habit of success, which is you need to invest in your education, okay? Now, when I was first growing up, man, I hated the school system. I hated education. I hated having to go and learn about boring subjects like geometry and calculus and about dead poets that I was never going to do anything with when it came to my career. I didn't see the point of it. I just so boring and glossed over when it didn't have any kind of practical application. Now is the time to move into a whole new world when it comes to what you're actually exposing your mind to and be willing to engage in continuous lifelong learning. So what do I mean by continuous lifelong learning? What I'm talking about is when it comes to the things that you care about, the things that you're trying to achieve, the success that you're trying to unlock, you need to become a student of success. You begin to learn, invest in your own education, whether that's books, courses, training material, podcasts, surrounding yourself with this information as a sponge, listening to those right voices, not only so that you can upgrade your skill set, upgrade your mindsets, become much more hardened, almost like a rock, right? Almost like you're ready, like a combat warrior to go out there and to make steps towards where you're trying to get to really become strong, right? In that way, and to strengthen your mindset, to strengthen your emotions, and have very high quality ways of dealing with sometimes those negative things that show up in your life. This is so incredibly important, which is to invest in your training and your education. Because at the end of the day, you take away everything from someone, take away all of their resources. The one thing that they have is what's in between their ears, right? Which is your brain, which is your training, which is the abilities that you have, which is your mindset, your emotions, the things that you know you can do. And it raises your self-esteem tremendously when you realize that you are capable of so much more than you think. And that only comes with actually widening your gaze, understanding more. In the same way that if you were a painter, for example, and you go into an art exhibit, all of a sudden when you look at paintings, you can actually understand certain types of brush strokes, you can understand maybe the different types of colors, the way that this artist has a certain kind of style, right? But for the average person, if you go into a museum and you look at paintings, and you don't know anything about them, you don't read the plaque, it's like, well, that's a really nice painting. But once you're a painter, you see the world differently when you go into that same museum. Now, let me ask you a question. What if that same thing is true about your life, where you just haven't had experience with any of these different things? So when you go through life, you're only noticing a couple of different things. In the same way that if you walked into that museum, you would also only notice a couple of different things there, and you wouldn't really understand what kind of went into that work, or different layers that led to some of those different paintings, right? So the more that you educate yourself, the more that you learn, not only do you become just like a sponge filled with actionable tips, strategies, a war chest of tools to be able to take action and to achieve success, but it also allows you to see the world differently and look at yourself differently as well. You start to almost like raise your consciousness, if you could say, in your understanding of yourself and your understanding of the world, and allows you to no longer have this warped view of how reality is, but instead see reality for what it is. And in that way, you can make strides towards that one thing that you want more than anything else, and you can do it at a rapid fire pace, because it's not like you're going out there and you're shooting and all of a sudden you're way off in the wrong direction when it comes to what you're trying to move towards, right? And you're not, having this mirage of something that's not even possible. When you start to actually educate yourself and start to understand things, you can then move towards those goals way more quickly. So last thing I'm going to mention here, and this kind of ties into knowing yourself, is that one of the biggest things that successful people actually do is not only understanding who they are, but also what's holding them back. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the times when it comes to my coaching students, when it comes to people that I'm working with, when it comes to readers of my books, when it comes to people who listen to my videos, etc., it's really honestly has nothing to do with their abilities, okay? Because so many of us are really incredibly talented. I talk with people all day who are smarter than me, who are way more intelligent than I am, right? When it comes to different things that they're doing in their life, who are way even more motivated, I would say, and way more hungry, and come sometimes even work longer hours than I can. Why am I seeing success when they're not? It's because they have certain things that are holding them back. In the same way that if you were an incredible athlete and you were really fast, and you were running track, let's just say you had a rubber band that was around your belly, right? And that rubber band made it so that no matter how much you ran, no matter how hard you ran, it would always snap you back to the beginning of that race. It's the same thing. These are beliefs, these are elements that are holding you back from that success. And the more you can unlock that, the more you can kind of cut those threads when it comes to the rubber band analogy, the more that you can do that, you can just light up and you can go down that track like rapid fire, right? So I talk about this in my course, and I'll link up that up down below. Basically, it's showing you how to not only achieve success more in your life, but also how to unlock your potential, how to decode your mind, how to understand yourself, how to understand this thing that's, to be honest, one of the biggest enemies when it comes to success, which is knowing how to actually cut some of those ties, to understand what's holding you back, to move past that so you can have this show up in your life much more easily, and to fix some of these behaviors, mindsets, and emotions. So I'm gonna link that up down below, and you can go learn more about decoding your mind and what goes into that course. It's a very low entry, very easy to grab course. I think you'll like it a lot. My name is Salvador Brigman. I got a couple more videos coming out very soon, so make sure you subscribe to this channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and I will see you next time.